YouTube, Petey Twofinger here. Just got back from the theater at the Cineplex. We saw Roger Waters' Us and Them. So this is a tour. The name of the tour, Us and Them, it's a song off Dark Side of the Moon. He had been around with The Wall, was the last time that Roger toured. Now he came back around. This Us and Them tour was supposed to be something different. And it was. It had a political message. It's basically peace, us choosing a path towards less greed and less destruction. So it's kind of a heady type of an idea, but it's illustrated through video. When you're at the show, he's got massive screen that's really high resolution. It's an LED screen. So it looks fantastic. So he's got all of this footage and effects going on, and he goes through his career with really trims the fat. It's really not much extra stuff. It's really well paced. Honestly, I have not missed a Roger Waters tour since he began touring solo. I've seen all of his shows every time he came out. I've seen him most of the times more than once, because I'm a huge fan of Pink Floyd. I'm a fan of Roger Waters' work. Now, I get it. If you're a huge Trump supporter, you're going to want to be ready, because he lays into Trump in a song called Pigs, 3 different ones. If you don't like Donald Trump, you're in for a treat. But either way, there's two sides of this story. If you pay attention, you can see a thread that runs from Dark Side of the Moon to Animals to Amused to Death, and his latest solo album is called Is This the Life We Really Want? So this is a very political thing. He feels that the Zionists, the Illuminati, the rich corporations that are the real people running the 1%, are the ones who are responsible for destroying the earth and creating war. That this non-stop fighting and wars, and that the 1% of the people have all the wealth, and then ruining the environment. So that's his thing, that's bad and that's evil. So at the same time, he says, hey, this is all going back to this Israel thing. These Zionists, that's where they are, and they're living on this land fighting with Palestine. So he's chosen a side. So anybody Jewish or Jewish sympathizers automatically hate Roger Waters. So this political thing, you'll always see, well, he's a great artist, but he needs to leave his politics aside. Well, he's always been political. So whether you agree, whether you're woke and you're enlightened, or you're still watching network TV and believing what your local news is telling you, you're in for a shock if you go to a Roger Waters concert. Let's put it that way. It's not. This is for subversive people that get their news from Alex Jones are going to like what Roger Waters has to say. So you need to be prepared for that. But the movie's playing again on the 6th of October. Today's the 2nd. It was the first showing. There's 2 showings of this movie. Then it'll come out on DVD. So if you didn't see the tour and you're a Pink Floyd fan, you like that music, definitely check this out. I have paid attention to Roger Waters in great detail. I've checked out all of his albums, all of his tours. And this one is really, really good. He really did a great job on this one, trimming the fat like they don't do Comfortably Numb, which is great. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I really enjoyed the performance of Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, and that was because of the focusing on the children, the dancing, and there's a lot of shots of the audience members. They have, they'll find somebody in the crowd who is like rapturously just tripping on the live experience. They're getting off on it. There'll be a tear running down the cheek. And Waters said something about he couldn't believe this person. Well, they never filmed me, because I don't stop crying from the minute the thing comes on. I'm either laughing like a madman or in tears at a Roger Waters thing. I was really shaken during The Wall. I saw The Wall on my birthday. when he brought that back out around, what year was that around? 2012?
20, maybe.
Somewhere around there. So again, there should be a DVD. This should be being released. The band is fantastic. It's a great band. They really do great. The effects in it are just awesome. It's just really well done. It's really well paced. The downside, I would say, we have the guy who's singing the David Gilmour parts has a softer voice where he doesn't belt it out so much. So that's something that Waters has always had, somebody in that role who doesn't excel at those vocals. It's just something that it's like, that guy, he has everything dialed in exactly how he wants it. So that's a choice. This time out, he has these backup singers with blonde wigs or bleach blonde hair, and they've got incredible eye makeup on. What would you call that? What? Eye makeup that those girls had on.
Like glitter. I mean, it was
huge
like
golden glitter around their eyes.
Yeah.
And but they're great. They're great. They're so great. Normally the Pink Floyd girls, they kind of do their little robotic dance. These girls have a lot of personality. They look great, and man, oh man, do they do some cool stuff. They get the drums out. They're wailing on these drums. The dance moves are great. But where they really shine is the Great Gig in the Sky. And I won't ruin it for you, but look for that as a huge highlight. I always love a performance of that. We've seen countless Floyd cover bands, and it's always like, oh boy, here we go. There'll be three girls up there, and it's like, here it comes. Where one of them will really shine. But this was my favorite performance of Great Gig in the Sky that in memory, because I've seen it so many times I couldn't tell you. There's been a couple real standouts, even from some unknown bands. But the kind of special effects stuff that he does, I don't really want to give that away. There's a couple of gimmicks that he uses. It's crammed full of gimmicks. Waters always has little magic show stuff that he brings to the table, his theater. And this was just a really well balanced, one of the best concert movies I ever saw, if not the best. And I'll tell you what, I felt the same way when I saw the tour. That's what my singer who had called me the day after he came to Chicago, I got a call, and my singer said, "Do you want to go see the best show you ever saw in your life again?" And I said, "Wasn't it?" "Yeah, let's go." So we went up to Milwaukee and caught the show again. I won't go into detail on that. We were like 5 songs late. Of course, my old singer had a reputation for, he's a horrible alcoholic, and every time I ever got involved with him on going to shows, he was my show going buddy. We were partners. If I was buying a ticket, I'd get 2 and maybe bring him, and same thing with him. He would invite me to go to shows, so it was always like pulling teeth to get him to the show so we could see the opening act. And I never saw an open act with him, and we never saw we were always late, usually halfway through the headliner or more. But that's a different story. So yeah, definitely check out Us and Them if you're a Pink Floyd fan. I give this huge double thumbs up. It doesn't get any better than this. This is just fantastic. Definitely going to be, this is like, don't even torrent it, just buy the DVD. It's probably $20, but it's one of those things. It's worth it to have the artwork. Roger Waters just doesn't get any better than this. And good news, he's going to be touring in 2020. The tour is going to be called This Is Not a Drill. The elite are killing us. And it's going to be even more political. This is going to be really hardcore stuff. The other Pink Floyd news that I read that was interesting tonight, that he had reached out in June or July to the David Gilmour camp in an attempt with an olive branch to patch everything up. And that went nowhere because of Gilmour, which is not surprising. If you know the story on why Roger Waters left Pink Floyd and why their last album was called The Final Cut, you will understand why Roger Waters left, and you will not, believe me, there's two types of Pink Floyd fans. They're the ones that have seen all the Roger Waters solo stuff, and the people that don't care so much for David Gilmour. And then there's the people who worship David Gilmour and they can't stand Roger Waters. So it's a very decisive line in the Pink Floyd camp. And those people who love David Gilmour and hate Roger Waters, what they don't realize is David Gilmour kind of does a lot of stuff with his money where he isn't as vocal about it, but he's got his own political stuff going on, and it's opposite of Roger Waters. So that's another reason why they disagree. But the real story went by Roger was in conflict with the director, Alan Parker, who was making The Wall, and David Gilmour went to the director and said, whatever Waters says, when it comes down to the meetings of how they're going to edit the film, me and Nick Mason will back you up, which meant they took Roger Waters, his power to make the movie that was the story of his life, his autobiography movie. And I know people argue and they'll go, it wasn't his autobiography, it was Sid Barrett too. Well, pretty much, yeah. It's Waters' story. And he didn't get to make the movie the way he wanted because Gilmour took that power away from him. And that's, it was written into the contract that it was a majority in the band, the majority vote. So Gilmour told Alan Parker, no matter what it is, me and Nick will side with you. So don't worry about anything that Roger says. Just make the movie your way. And Waters was really unhappy with the way the movie turned out. So understanding that, you can see why the final cut is called the final cut, because Waters didn't get final cut over his own autobiography. And why would Gilmour do that? Except as a power play to push Waters out of the band. So there goes the greatest band of all time. And I'm sorry, but Gilmour had no place to do that. He didn't write anything, Gilmour. He didn't write none of that. He's a fantastic musician, but he's not a writer. He can't write. So that's the story with Pink Floyd. And if you just look at like the last album, like The Girl with the Yellow Dress or whatever, that Rattle That Lock thing that he did, where he was charging $600 a seat. This guy's not a man of the people. He's an elitist, is what he is. David Gilmour. And that whole us and them thing, he doesn't buy into that because he feels he is one of the 1%. And he is. So if you think that David Gilmour's your man and you look up to him and you worship him, that's great for you. I can't stand him. I cannot stand David Gilmour. I used to love him. I learned how to play guitar by mimicking him. But where the rubber meets the road, Pink Floyd is Roger Waters' band. It's just, you'd kind of have to be not the sharpest tool in the shed to think otherwise. Anyway, this is kind of really getting rambly and everything. Check out Us and Them, and I'm definitely going to that tour in 2020. I'm going to continue supporting Waters. And I was not surprised when he came out and made fun of Donald Trump and pigs. Not surprised at that. People that were surprised at that were FM radio Pink Floyd fans who had no idea what was really going on, and they really didn't deserve to be in those great seats. All these people, I'm in the nosebleeds because I can't afford the, $200-300 seats in the front row. But I've been with this guy. I know every single lyric of his music, And those people were the ones that were surprised that he didn't like Trump. He's an Englishman. The guy's educated, He's like a philosopher. He's not going to like Donald Trump. All right, we're getting political. This thing's way too long. I'm going to cut you guys loose. Us and Them, Roger Waters. Good stuff. Check it out, people. Don't miss it.